Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Let's do it.
Today we're tackling something that I know can send shivers down anyone's spine. Um, Ransomware.
Yeah, no kidding. It's one of those things you really hope you never have to deal with.
Absolutely. We're talking about those nasty little programs that can lock you out of your own computer, basically holding all your data hostage.
It's like your photos, documents, everything just gone. Poof. And all you get is a nasty message demanding money to get it all back.
Yeah, and it's really crazy is that these attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated.
It's true, they are. They're not just locking you out anymore. They're encrypting your files with these super complex algorithms.
So even if you're like a tech whiz and you somehow manage to, I don't know, break back into your computer, your files are still scrambled.
Right, they're basically useless without that decryption key. And to get the key, well, that's where the ransom comes in.
And we're talking serious money here, right?
Oh, yeah. It can be tens of thousands of dollars. Easy. It's a nightmare scenario for individuals and businesses alike.
Okay, so clearly this is something we all want to avoid. Luckily, we've got some expert advice to help us out today.
Straight from the top. Right.
That's right, we're diving deep into guidance from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA for short.
They have a whole website dedicated to this. It's stopransomware.gov, and it's packed with practical tips that everyone can use.
So this isn't just like, some super technical jargon that only IT professionals can understand.
Nope, not at all. CISA does a great job of breaking it down, making it clear and understandable for everyone.
All right, so before we jump into the nitty-gritty of their recommendations, can you just quickly explain why ransomware is such a huge threat? I mean, couldn't you just restore your files from a backup?
Well, in theory, yes, but these attackers are getting smarter all the time. They're starting to target backup systems, too. Yeah, so they try to really cripple your ability to recover. Plus, you have to remember, they're using really strong encryption. Without the key, those files are as good as gone.
So even if you have a backup, it might not be enough.
Exactly. It's really scary stuff. And it's not just big companies that are at risk here.
Right, individuals can be targeted too.
Oh, absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, individuals can sometimes be easier targets, because they might not have the same level of security as a large corporation.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to those CISA tips. What's the #1 thing we can do to protect ourselves?
Well, one of the first things they emphasize is something called vulnerability scanning.
Vulnerability scanning. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around before, but to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what it means. Could you maybe break it down for us?
Sure. Think of your computer system like a house, right?
Okay, I'm following.
Now, vulnerability scanning is basically like checking all the doors and windows to make sure they're locked and secure. It helps you find any weak points that attackers could exploit.
So you're basically looking for those digital cracks that ransomware could sneak in through.
Exactly. And just like you wouldn't leave your house unlocked, you shouldn't leave your computer system vulnerable.
Makes sense. So we should be doing these vulnerability scans regularly.
Absolutely. The more often you scan, the better. It helps you catch those vulnerabilities early on before they can be exploited.
Got it. Okay, so let's say, despite our best efforts, we still get hit with a ransomware attack. What happens then?
Well, as much as it might sting, reporting it is absolutely crucial.
Even if you feel like embarrassed or ashamed.
Especially then. It's easy to think, oh, this is my fault, or I should have been more careful. But honestly, these attackers are very good at what they do, and reporting helps law enforcement track them down.
So it's not just about helping yourself, it's about helping prevent future attacks on others.
Exactly. It's about gathering information, understanding their tactics. By reporting the attack, you're actually contributing to a larger effort to fight cybercrime.
Okay, so who do we report these attacks to?
So there are a couple of key agencies you can contact. One is the Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3. They have a website where you can file a report.
IC3, got it.
And you can also reach out to your local Secret Service field office. They have teams specifically dedicated to investigating cybercrime.
Okay, good to know. So reporting is definitely important, but it feels kind of reactive, right? Like it's after the damage has already been done. What can we do proactively to be prepared in case an attack happens.
Backups, backups, backups.
But didn't you say earlier that attackers are starting to target backup systems too?
They are, which is why it's so important to have offline and encrypted backups.
Okay, hold on. Offline and encrypted. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Sure. So an offline backup is basically a copy of your data that's not connected to your computer or network.
So it's like physically disconnected.
Right. Think of it like a safe deposit box at a bank. It's separate, it's secure. Even if your computer gets compromised, the attackers can't touch your offline backup.
Okay, I get the offline part. What about the encryption part?
So encryption adds another layer of security. It basically scrambles your data, making it unreadable without a special decryption key.
And only you have that key.
Exactly. It's like a super strong password, but for your data.
So even if someone gets their hands on your backup, they can't do anything with it without the key.
Right. It's useless to them.
That's brilliant. Okay, so backups are crucial. Anything else we should be doing?
Speaking of vulnerabilities, we can't forget about patching.
Ah, yes. The dreaded updates. I have to admit, sometimes I'm tempted to just ignore those notifications.
Oh, I think we've all been there. But trust me, those updates are super important.
Can you explain why?
Sure. Think of patches as like digital repairs for your software. Developers often find weaknesses in their code, little holes that attackers could exploit.
Okay, vulnerabilities again?
Exactly. And patches fix those weaknesses, essentially closing those security holes. It's kind of like patching up a leak in your roof before it causes major water damage.
I see. So those updates might be annoying, but they could actually save you from a much bigger headache down the line.
Exactly. And you know, the good news is that you can usually set your software to update automatically, so you don't even have to think about it.
That's a huge relief.
And if you're worried about updates disrupting your work, you can schedule them for a time that's convenient for you.
All right, so it sounds like we've covered a lot of ground here. If we follow these CISO recommendations, we'll be in a much better position to avoid falling victim to a ransomware attack, right?
Absolutely. Ransomware is a constantly evolving threat, but you're not powerless against it. By taking these steps, things like vulnerability scanning, reporting any incidents, having robust backups, and keeping your software patched, you can significantly reduce your risk.
So the key takeaway here is to be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait for something bad to happen before you take action.
Exactly. And remember, this is just a starting point. CISA's website, stopransomware.gov, has even more detailed information and resources.
So basically, go check it out. There's a ton of great information there to help you stay safe.
That's right. Stay informed and stay ahead of the curve.
Excellent advice. Well, I feel much more prepared now. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Anytime, it was my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.